It is July 31st, 2024, and this is the season finale of the Rubin Report. That's right. The regular world operates on the Gregorian calendar. Our season, however, ends in July because, as you guys know, I go off the grid for August. I am about to lock this device from hell in a safe. I will not know the code. My iPad, I don't really use my iPad anymore, but my iPad's going in there. My computer's going in there. I am completely disconnecting. No news, no current events, no nothing for 1 month. We were just checking the numbers on this. So I have done this off the grid thing since 2018. You guys might remember some of these. Ben Shapiro brought me back the first time I did that, brought me back in September of 2018. Then Glenn Beck brought me back in 2019. Michael Knowles brought me back in 2020. That was COVID year. 21 was Adam Carolla, which was also COVID year, so we had to do it digitally. Then 22 was finally here in the free state of Florida. We had made the move with my friend Larry Elder. Then last year, I came back a little bit early because it was the first Republican debate. And because obviously I do a lot of stuff with Rumble and they were a big sponsor, we felt that I really just could not miss that. It was just one of those things. So we came back a little bit early. Michael Knowles brought me back. And this year it will be a surprise as to who is bringing me back on September 3rd. But we're going to do a recap of really everything that has happened this season. And really, so I view our season really from September to July and then August, where we do put up some content. We've actually got some great stuff and some funny stuff and some silly stuff and a whole bunch more coming out for you this month, because if we go dark on the channel, you get kicked out of the algorithm and then it takes us months to return. But I view our season really from September to July, and we're going to recap some of my favorite moments, some of the interesting things that happened over the year. But I do want to say this really has been the most rewarding year that I have done this show. You know, we started the Rubin Report in 2013 when David and I moved to Los Angeles and we joined the Young Turks, and we didn't even know really what we were doing, and the show was sort of like a panel show on The View, and it was very rough, and I had come from the stand-up world, but was really doing radio at the time. It was my first on-camera thing. And then, without rehashing my entire story, you guys know the deal. I had my political awakening. I bounced around to a couple networks, started going independent. There was the whole IDW moment, touring with Jordan Peterson, writing a couple books. All these things happened, but it really led to, being here in Florida, building what I think is truly the nicest studio in the entire game right now. Having the honor of working with all these people who are all in the room with me today. We let Brock and Joey out of the closet into the main room for this final show. Welcome, guys. And assembling a team that every single day I get to come to work and it's joyous and happy, even when the news is not joyous and happy. And that did happen a whole bunch this year. And just working with people who I love, we just all come in here and just have a blast. The tone of the show that you guys get to see every day is the tone that we all have with each other. So I think we assembled that really tightly. And then, the other part that I think goes along with that is that all of the ideas that I've been talking about for all of these years, they also kind of all fell into place in terms of how I do this show and the things I talk about. Moving to Florida, moving to a place that was more in line with my values. Now we have kids. I have a whole other life outside of this studio that is way less professional, let's say, than what goes on here. But the way having these two young kids just like reinvent you every single day and give me more reason to fight for the things I fight for and everything else has just absolutely been incredible. And then just, traveling and meeting you guys wherever I go, and people, it's funny, people online can be mean and there's the trolls and all that stuff, and I don't really pay attention to that stuff anymore. But wherever I go, literally to the supermarket or to the movie theater or to the airport, like, people are nice everywhere. There are more and more people out there who I know are trying to solve these problems and see the world the way, roughly that you and I see it. And I'm just very honored to be part of that. I guess it's a weird thing. Like, I'm honored to be part of the thing I created, but I really, really am. And I would also say that the proof is in the pudding. Because we were just looking at some of the numbers, again, because we view this today as the end of our season. And not only has the show grown every single year, like grown by leaps and bounds, but this past year was just absolutely insane. So just for a little bit of, just to give you context for how big this thing has gotten, and it really is incredible. And again, this is really credit for the people that are sitting to my right now. From September of 22 to July of 23, so last season, the Rubin Report on YouTube had 294 million views, which is a crazy, crazy number, right? It's a huge number. It's fantastic. That's just YouTube alone. I'm not even talking about Rumble there or audio podcast or anything else. But this year, we went from September of 23 to July of 24, so the same amount of time, we went to 548 million views. That's about a 90% increase, just under a 90% increase. And July was our biggest month ever, this July that we're closing as of today, 90 million views alone right here on YouTube. The Rumble numbers have been blowing up. The subscribers jumped by 50% this year. Like, everything's working. So first, I'm just putting that out there, and that's just a thank you to you guys. It's mostly a thank you to our local supporters. You know, obviously things have gone well here and we continue to grow and everything else. The couple of bucks that you guys throw in a month keeps us independent. Like, independence only works if we have the people that keep us independent. So it's mostly a thank you to you guys, but it's a thank you to everybody that watches the show. If you buy some of the products from our sponsors or any of that stuff, we're just very appreciative. Trust me, I am deeply appreciative of all of that. But before we get into the show, and we've set up a couple highlights of the year and some silly stuff, as I said, there's a reason that I do this off the grid thing, and people can't believe it. Like, actually, it's one of the things that when people say hi to me, wherever I might be, they want to ask more about that than anything else. Like, yeah, there'll always be something about, oh, tell me what Jordan is like, you know, behind the camera, or does Ben talk that fast? There's always that kind of stuff. What are my predictions, political predictions, you know, all that. But the other thing that they really want to know about is this off the grid thing. Like, do I really do it? How do I do it? Do I not freak out? And what about the phantom buzzing in my leg and all that stuff? And when I did it the first year in 2018, it was really kind of a joke. Like, my career was blowing up. You know, the numbers were all good. I finally had a little bit of money. And I was just like, let me just see if could I do it? Could I put this thing away for a month and not be part of it? Not be part of that machine, not be part of the doom scrolling and all that stuff. And not only did we do it, and we went to like we didn't have a ton of cash at the time. We went to a little resort in Mexico. It was just the two of us. It was before kids. And it was great. It was absolutely great. It was tough. It was tough at first, like first couple of days, hand going into the pocket constantly. Oh my God, did I miss something? You know, you actually start thinking, whether you're in the news like I am, or you're just a consumer of it, you start thinking like, oh my God, does the world actually go on without me? And, you know, very quickly you realize that it does. And then we've been blessed that over the course of the couple of years, a couple of times we went to Bora Bora, we've gone to rainforests in Mexico. Sometimes we're just home doing projects. The COVID year, we're just home fixing things around the house, but just not being on the machines. And, you know, this thing, like you guys know, I'm not anti-technology. I'm very pro-technology, and I love sci-fi and all of that stuff. But this thing is a tool. The phone is a tool. This access to all of the world's information, you can use it for good, use it for bad, but all of the systems and the algorithms, they're designed to keep us anxious. They're designed to keep us in that doom scroll and that perpetual hamster wheel of craziness. And I have found consistently in the years that I've done this, like, it gives me fresh perspective. I've told you how suddenly I'll be 2 weeks in and I can remember every single word to an album. Or I'll start thinking about a friend that I sat next to in first grade, literally 40 years ago. All sorts of weird things. And then, you know, we really focus on eating right, working out, taking care of ourselves. We're going to try to see some family this year, spend as much time with the kids as possible, all of that stuff. So I hope that although we are putting content out for the entire month, I hope you'll also try to take a little time in August. You know, if there's ever a time to do it, and I get it, I know this August is going to be the craziest. And I know that the last 3 weeks have been completely effing bananas. Like, I get all of that. And there were a lot of people that were like, Dave, you can't do it this year. Of all years, you can't do it because they just got rid of Biden and they're installing Kamala and they just shot Trump and the Democratic Convention and Hamas and blah. And it's like, you know what? That's kind of why I have to do it, because I want to come back with fresh eyes. I don't want to be somebody that every day that we do this show, it's just a reactive show. And I'm just like, oh, there's craziness. I'll respond to craziness. I want to find a way to make this more, not that I want it to be more positive. I want it to be what I think the show has largely become, something where you can watch it and feel like we gave you a little bit of information or cleaned up a little bit of the madness and hopefully sparked a little something in you to figure out how to live the best life that you can live. Because somehow doing this enabled me to do just that. So I will be brought back on the grid the day after Labor Day, September 3rd, 2024, by one of my favorite people on planet Earth. We're not going to announce who it is, but really one of my favorite people on planet Earth, and he and she, you never know, will catch me up on everything that I missed. So I will not get anything. Yes, we do have, David will have his phone, and we do have a very short list of things that people are allowed to contact us about, mostly about health-related issues, or I suppose if an EMP goes off or there's a nuclear war, I'd like to know so we could just go get some extra water, although we do keep a lot of water and other things around the house. But like, we basically, nothing will bring us back. Like, no, okay, well, Joe Biden finally collapsed and that's that. I don't need to know that. They tried to shoot this one again, or just like, this is the purpose. This is the purpose. I want to come back, as I said, with fresh eyes, a new perspective on all of this stuff. And then before we get into the show real quick, I just know that, if you give me an hour of your day, 5 days a week, which a lot of you do now, our live streams are averaging hundreds of thousands of views and often getting into the millions now. Like, it really is incredible. I never thought this thing could become as big as it did. And, when I originally started, it was mostly an interview show. And then we started doing it this way. I didn't know if that was going to work. But if you give me that time of your day, I think it's, I owe it to you to kind of do it right. And I think the only way that I can do it right is occasionally stepping back, resetting myself, and then coming back and being able to offer something fresh. So that is kind of why I do it. And with all of that in mind, let's dive into just kind of some of the monthly highlights since last year, and I'm going to show you some of my favorite moments, and I think the guys have some surprises for me as well, because it really has been a crazy year. And I say it on the show almost every day, but especially in these last couple of weeks, it's like, Trump got shot, then Biden stepped down, then they put him on. Like, it seems like it's getting faster and faster and faster. And maybe that's also part of age, right? I'm 48 now. And I think as you get into middle age, things start going faster and faster and faster. And we can all think of our grandparents saying, where did the time go? Or I don't feel as old as I am, or something like that. But then I think it's also algorithmically fueled. Like, everything feels faster all the time. That's another reason why I wanted to disconnect, to slow down that endless stream. But just to show you how fast things have gone, last August, we did come back a little bit early, as I mentioned, so we're just going to go month by month for just a moment. And this was the middle, I think it was around August 17th, if I'm not mistaken, and this was the first Republican debate. This was in Milwaukee, and there I am with Jordan Peterson and Glenn Greenwald and Michael Malice, who had just caught me up on all the news. I didn't even know Jordan was going to be there, and that was 11 months ago already. Of course, then in September, we're just doing one hit from each month, basically, just to get going here. In September, the debates kept rolling on, and we were at the Reagan Library in California with some of my faves, Carol Markowitz and Larry Elder and Patrick Bett, David.
All I think about is the average voter today is watching this tonight saying, is my life better today than it was 4 years ago? They're all scared today. I don't know how most of them are making it.
That is way better analysis than I was going to do on the union thing, because my main takeaway was that they all slept with Randy Weingarten. Wasn't that? That seemed to be the running theory. They were all like, I slept with her, and she's a lesbian. I don't know what was going on there. It's funny, you look back and that's 10 months ago and it's like, wow, Trump wasn't even at that thing. Everyone thought that if it was going to be Trump, and a lot of people thought it was going to be DeSantis. I certainly was fighting for DeSantis at that time. And it just, again, that just goes to show you that in this business, you can know a lot. You can know the people, you can be inside it, you're going to get some of your predictions wrong and everything else. But doesn't that feel like a long ass time ago? And that was 10 months ago. Then in October, this was one of my favorite moments from October. We went to Los Angeles. It takes a lot to get me back to Los Angeles, but I got to meet RFK Jr. For the first time. This was to the backdrop about 2 weeks after October 7th. So it was I would say a personally rough time, but it was a rough time for the entire world, and it still is to some extent. And I chatted a bit about that with RFK, and it was a beautiful venue outdoors right in the hills of Los Angeles.
We're on the brink of a nuclear war. Lebanon could come in. Syria could come in. Egypt already has 350,000 troops staged to come in. Their threat, Turkey, Sisi is saying that he's going to come in. And if that happens, Russia will almost certainly come in. And we could easily sleepwalk into World War III. And, the United States, the people who are running our government now, Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Avril Haines, Victoria Nuland, I don't think any of them have a healthy fear of nuclear war. We also have a diminished armory, and we're fighting a two-front war, and it's going to be tempting to go to the punchline, to the end game.
All right. Well, fortunately, we haven't got to the punchline yet, and hopefully we will not get to the punchline in August. But look, the Middle East, just even in the last couple of days, with Hezbollah and Lebanon, it's like it is getting hot. Like it just is getting hot. But that was the highlight for October. November was really one of my favorite months of the entire year. I got to go to London for Jordan Peterson's ARC conference, and it was absolutely wonderful. And it felt like a Rubin Report reunion show with so many of my old friends and guests of the show, and really just bringing together people from literally every corner of the world. There were, I think, something like 60 or 70 countries represented there to try to figure out how do we get out of this slow motion descent that the West seems to be getting into. Here's a little trailer we put together.
The whole point of ARC.
That's what's happening to the young people that we see who are adrift. They're taught to be nothing but self-conscious.
What would be the proper policy? Replace the intellectuals of the left? Anybody, but don't give it to university.
I think we're sitting on a ticking time bomb.
There's nothing you could do that would make them more miserable. It's identical with the instruction in misery.
Why are you here at ARC?
Wake people up in the West.
I am angered.
Fundamentals that we need to fight for.
The old saying is, I say screw that.
I don't think that they are rescuable.
And that's all real. And so is what's at the pinnacle.
The highlight of the entire ARC conference was the last night where at the O2 Theater, Jordan gave one of his talks. I did not open for him that night, but I was backstage with him and a couple other people. You might recognize these two chaps. There's Ben Shapiro and Douglas Murray. It was particularly nice, actually, to see Ben there because, again, this was right after October 7th and, all the Hamas rallies in London and everything else. And Jordan brought Ben on stage. And the applause for Ben, probably about 7,000 people there. The applause for Ben clearly were not just for Ben Shapiro, the podcaster. It was that Ben, who obviously publicly wears a yarmulke and all that kind of stuff, represents something a little else. So that was really nice. And then this is probably my favorite picture of the year. This is backstage, and that's Jordan and me. Obviously, that's his wife Tammy, his son Julian behind him, and I'm not sure who that young lady is with him. There's Bjorn Lomberg behind me, Douglas Murray with his hand on my shoulder, and there's Phoenix, the producer of the Rubin Report, Phoenix Glenn, right over there. Then December, one of my dreams that I had kind of given up on came true. We were in the middle of doing a show in December, and I saw that Phoenix ran out of the studio while we were live on air. And I was like, and I'm doing the show, talking to you guys, and he never leaves the studio in the middle of a show. And I was like, oh, what happened? Like, was some kind of a medical emergency or something. We end up wrapping the show. I walk, Phoenix says, let me talk to you outside. And he says, Dave, I got some good news. And that good news was that finally, after talking about Bill Maher a whole bunch over the years and wanting to be on Politically Incorrect when it was on ABC in 1999, when I was first doing stand-up, I made my first appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher.
Well, that is where a lot of
What would good people on both sides of Charlottesville? I don't know. Did I hear that, or did I make that up? That Trump said there are good people on both sides.
He didn't say that.
He did not.
He said it, but a sentence later, he said, I'm not talking about the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis.
After. It's like Elon Musk.
I think that was actually the first time that the sort of Very Fine People hoax was really blown up on mainstream media. And subsequently, in the 7 or so months since then, people know it's a hoax now, right? Like they really know it's a hoax. The machine doesn't stop, and they will keep pushing it as the hoax that it is. But a lot of people have woken up to that, and that was just really it was a proud moment for me personally and professionally, and that Bill and I have become friends since then, and it put a piece together. And when I said at the beginning of that like I had kind of given up on that dream, one of the things that I found while doing this is you have to kind of stop wanting things. You just have to do what you do and do it hopefully because you think it's right, and then the rewards will come on the other side. And I had really gotten to the point for years and years that was the one show I wanted to be on. And then for about a year, I just completely gave up on that dream. And of course, that's when it came back. And then ironically, like 2 weeks ago, they wanted me on the show again, but it was David's birthday, and you got to have priorities in life. But anyway, I'm sure I'll be on again in the fall. In January, I think we completed the team. You know, I said that the other picture was my favorite picture, but this might be my favorite picture of the year because this is my complete team of everybody in the studio. So Adi joined us. She's the chick in the picture right there. You're the chick. You're the chick. Yeah, she's raising the roof right now. And she joined us as my chief of staff and really completed the full team. So we did a photo shoot that were for some promo shots. Connor, the director, is right on the other side of ID over there. Connor is Mr. Guacamole around here. Brock right in front of him. Brock has excellent handle when we're playing basketball, and I did draw blood once when we were playing ball, and I apologize for that. There's Joey. He's the new guy. Joey, who we normally keep in the closet back there, and he was a diversity hire because we felt if we brought an Asian guy in, it would help because obviously Harvard's not being too kind to them. But he is doing good work despite that. And then you guys know Phoenix already. And even the fact that I can make those silly, nonsensical jokes, oh my God, she's a girl, he's Asian, and no one's gonna sue anybody or fight because we're all actually friends. That is the point. And that's what America used to be. There used to be a chick and an Asian guy and a gay guy and another guy who liked guacamole, and they used to do stuff. Like, it sounds like a sitcom for me. Anyway, and then also they wanted me to show you this picture. The team felt this was the best picture of me of the year. We all, after we brought ID on board, we had a photo shoot, and then what do? If you work in Florida, you take the team shooting, and that's my AR-15, had just picked that thing up, and she's a real beauty. Oh wait, is that mine? Was that mine? I think I shook that one. I might have taken that picture with someone else's AR. No, that is mine. Yeah, that is mine, right there. So that was the highlight for January. Then February, Rumble opened offices in Washington D.C. and we went there. That actually turned out to be a sort of politically formative week for me because Rumble opens these offices. And they're really fantastic studios there, so we can always go to DC and shoot with whoever we want. And that was that week where they were doing the bipartisan deal. Remember, they wanted to push through the bipartisan border deal, which of course was complete nonsense. And you could just see how all the politicians were just so damned, all the Republicans were so damn depressed because there was no need for a bipartisan deal. It just meant nothing. And it was one of the moments where I really realized, like, so much of this is just this ridiculous media framed game. You better sign the bipartisan deal because it's bipartisan, but it was actually just kind of crappy. But in any event, Rumble Open Studios there, we interviewed about 20 Republicans. We invited about 30 Democrats. Not one Democrat responded. One Democrat office responded to us and said no. Wait, was it Rashida or Ilhan? No. It was Ilhan Omar. Ironically, Ilhan Omar's office at least had the decency to respond no, that she couldn't do it. But we could not get one Democrat to sit with me, which is a perfect sign of the times, I would say. But here's some highlights from that DC trip.
Hey guys, I'm Dave Rubin, and today we're going to storm the Capitol.
Missed opportunity. Next time we're going to, and as you know, we play old guys.
How about that Florida, huh?
We missed Florida every moment while we were there. The real highlight, though, for me in February was we went to go see Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, and you guys know I love the Four Seasons, love Frankie Valli. There's that famous story that I tried to get him to come to my 45th birthday party, offered him 10 grand. They wanted 100 grand. I couldn't do it, obviously. This is a couple of years ago. And then that morning of my birthday, I go to get orange juice at the supermarket, and who's there thumping a watermelon? It's Frankie Valli. Well, in any event, years later, finally, this past February, 90 years old. Look at that guy. He did a 2.5-hour concert, no intermission. And the reason that I was able to get backstage and meet him is because the drummer saw me at the casino. It was at the Hard Rock Hollywood. And he's like, Dave Rubin, I thought you might be here. I know you love Frankie. You want to meet him after the show? And I was like, That's basically as good as it gets. And they always say don't meet your heroes, but sometimes you should, because he was just absolutely spectacular. In March, slight emotional change now for a second, we took part of the team and we went to Israel to try to sort of see what things were like post October 7th. And I would say it was one of the most powerful, sort of challenging, and also inspiring kind of 7 days of my life. It was really, really unbelievable. Here's just a portion.
Here I am in Tel Aviv, Israel on a beautiful day in a part of the world that isn't so beautiful right now. I'm here for a week to talk to some of the survivors of October 7th, to talk to some politicians, media members, just people on the street, really find out the temperature of what's going on here in Israel. And the reason that I came was not only to show solidarity with Israel and the Israeli people, but also because I think that this country is the canary in the coal mine for the rest of the world. I think we're quite literally millions and millions of people all over the world have woken up to over the past few months is that evil is real. Not everyone thinks as we think. Not everyone believes the same things that we believe in. And if we don't reignite that sense of freedom, figure out how to fight for it and do it justly and honestly, then all of our societies will collapse. That is the great challenge for Western societies right now, and that's what we're going to be exploring for the next week.
Yeah, to say it was meaningful really is an incredible understatement, but I think the heart of what I just said right there has really borne out to be true over the months since then. Like this fight that now we are clearly in the West, whether we are going to become some sort of communist Marxist country here in America, what Europe is going through as it pertains to immigration. Like this is the great challenge that we have now as free societies, if we want to be free or not. And I do think that Israel is the canary in the coal mine as it pertains to that. And obviously that situation is still ongoing. April, we were back here and it was just a great 10 days. We had a great 10-day run in studio, sat down with Ben Shapiro. We brought back RFK Jr. It was my first time meeting Sage Steele, who I've absolutely fallen in love with. She feels like a friend that I've known my entire life. Vivek Ramaswamy came in and, we had banged each other up a bit during the primary season, but it was good to break bread again with him. And there was Tulsi, who, of course, I really felt was going to be the best choice if Trump wanted that wide tent thing. We shall see. I think J.D. Vance has been just fine. I think the more they call him weird, the more he comes off as normal. But I wanted Trump, obviously, to go the Tulsi route. He didn't, and we'll sort of see where that shakes out. But anyway, that 10-day run with just really good thinkers and influential people was just a really prime example of what we try to do here. And I think that month really exemplified that quite well. In May, we went over to Ralston College, and I did an event with Chris Rufo. We'll show you a little portion of that.
As I'm sure some of you guys know, is I was on the left at the time, and I definitely had a bit of an awakening and started talking to people that were a little more conservative in nature, and then going through that process and doing it live, where you could see conversations that I was having. There's a very famous one with Larry Elder, but then with Ben Shapiro and with Dennis Prager, Glenn Beck, Jordan Peterson. There were all these people that I was talking to that I thought I was so ideologically opposed to. And I just sort of did it in an honest way. And there were moments of disagreement. But what I found was, it was like, wow, I could sit down with people and have a conversation with them. And maybe we didn't see eye to eye on seriously important things. Could be abortion, foreign policy, taxes, whatever it might be. But that the spirit of doing that seemed to be what was interesting to people, that I was able to do that. And so few people seemed to be able to do it at that time.
This guy doesn't wear a tux every day. Come on. Come on, man.
He may be serving at dinner tonight even.
Ralston College, and that's Stephen Blackwood right there, who run the school. Like if you are thinking about going to college, and you probably don't need to, and we discuss that here all the time, but Ralston College is one of the few places that you can really get a true classically liberal education that has meaning. It's in Savannah, Georgia, which is absolutely beautiful. And I would highly recommend everyone checking that out. And I suspect if you tell them you're a Rubin Report viewer, it might help your admissions process. One other thing from May, we went back to DC and I hosted an event all about immigration across the world. And here I am, we did a little walk and talk. It's always nice to get out of studio and talk to people with former Department of Homeland Secretary under Donald Trump, Chad Wolf.
Really, this immigration issue has just, to me, trumped, no pun intended, all of the other issues at the moment. It must be sort of depressing for you to see what's going on right now, considering that you guys largely had this under control for 4 years.
Well, I think that's right. It's not only depressing, it's frustrating. It's not only myself, but the team at DHS under President Trump worked very hard to get, some semblance of control along that border, to bring control out of chaos. And it didn't happen overnight, right? We went through some difficult times in 2017, 18, and even 19, trying to get our hands around it. We tried some things that didn't work, but we found a lot of things that did work, particularly towards the end of the administration. And we were very proud of that. I think a lot of Americans agreed with us and said, hey, we get some control over this thing. And of course, you saw all that go away on day one of the Biden administration. And it's very hard to look at what's going on because deep down, and not only just intuitively I know, and I think most Americans know, that what's going on along that border is just simply unfair. I think most Americans have a basic sense of fairness, and they're looking at folks just coming across that border that are being released in 24 to 48 hours with a plane ticket and housing, and they're just saying, that's not right. That's not right.
Did ask Chad at the end of that thing if he would take his old job back if Donald Trump gets back into office. And I could see he didn't exactly answer me, but there was a certain gleam in his eye that he probably would, and he would be the right guy for the job. Definitely better than Mr. Eyebrows, Alejandro Mayorkas. In June, I went back to New York City. It's sort of like LA. It takes a lot to get me back there, but we did a nice press tour, and here's some of the highlights.
Jesse, I was watching the show in the green room, and I'm starting to see a theme here.
What's that?
That if you're a Democrat, you can basically get away with everything, and if you're a Republican, you can't get away with anything.
I was a Democrat when I was a teenager, and look where that got me.
Injured in the line of duty by someone who was not here legally in the first place, and had a track record.
Sandra, I spent most of my formative years, 20 years, in this city. I don't live here anymore, but when I come back, I can see how the city has changed.
The very fine people on both sides thing, do you think that's legit or not?
I think you guys are 100% giving him a pass. In a way that you would never give one on the other side.
He said very fine people on both sides, except then literally the next sentence was, I am not talking about the white supremacists or the neo-Nazis. He was talking about the people who debate whether we should have these statues or not. And of course, there are very fine people on both sides of that.
He should go to jail. Right?
Yeah.
What did you make about him basically saying he had an open mind? He did not have an open mind about the lab leak.
No, Fauci has lied about everything from the beginning. He admitted that 6 feet social distancing was just kind of made up. He told friends 2 months into COVID that masks don't work. He claims he had nothing to do with school closures. We could go on and on. There's another part of that testimony where he says that he blames 200,000 to 300,000 COVID deaths on podcasters for spreading misinformation about vaccines. I would like to say, as an unvaccinated podcaster, I want to use my words carefully here, Anthony Fauci can go himself.
A question that prompted applause. Yeah, there's got to be a more qualified female or person of color. Look at these guys, so pale and so penisy. Lou is amazing.
It's so incredible watching wokeness eat itself and destroy itself.
Like, some of them are leaving the Pride Parade to join the Palestinian protests. Like, see, we're with you.
Yeah.
But then they're chanting like, no pride in genocide. What is that? What is that supposed to mean?
Guy, I'm going to work a little blue for a Monday, but you will end up on your knees either way.
Uh-oh.
You get it? You get it? Then July, just this last month, we went back to Los Angeles.
Before we get into anything else, what I just said to you off air, which is that if I take you for dinner, order your own potato. You shared the potato with a billionaire. You were sitting next to a billionaire. You didn't have to pay, and you split a potato with nothing on it, like a pauper.
How do you think I became a... Oh, no, he's a billionaire.
He's the billionaire.
I'm broke. Oh, God damn it. I felt so good about that one when it was coming out, but then I lost momentum.
Are you concerned at all that he might be unchecked in a second term, and that's not great?
Well, look, as a classical liberal, I believe in limited government. I believe in the individual. I don't want too much government power. I think most of the Supreme Court decisions actually scaled back some of the power of government. They're hurting some of the agencies that are kind of unaccountable.
Are you saying that if Biden got elected in 24, that you would campaign for the cessation of Florida?
I would be on that side of the argument if the argument presented itself. Yeah.
Yeah, there are, of course, painful moments like that. Yes. We don't have to go through all of my horrible things.
I want to make you cry.
Don't make me cry.
No, we're not.
But yes, I mean, there are lots of, and also in the personal life and just in things, just things where I would go, oh gosh, I wish I'd thought of that 10 years earlier.
I don't know why we're talking about Biden's mental state when we can just look at his record. Donald Trump couldn't dream of doing these things.
Harry, you're going to still be here when Joe Biden is long gone. So running cover for a guy that clearly is not capable for the job is not a long-term strategy for your career. That's just a little career advice for you.
I agree with him. He's not the same man that he was in 2020, but he was still gone. So now all of a sudden?
How many shots of Casamigos did he have before he wrote that thing?
Dave Rubin, who is... Oh, Sean is providing applause for you.
I appreciate digital applause. I'll take him however I can get him, Dennis.
That's
however
a great
I
line.
can get
He
him.
appreciates. See, that's Dave Rubin.
That's Dave Rubin. That's right. Anyway, that was a great press tour. By the way, I shot shows, a couple of things that haven't even come out yet. Did Howie Mandel's podcast. I sat down with Sage Steele, about 2 hours on her show. Jen Cohen, which I absolutely love doing that show in her backyard, and Chad Prather. That was in Dallas. Actually, all of those apparently will be out in August. So stay tuned. I think we'll get you some clips. All right, let me dive into a couple questions from the community, and then we have a couple more of my favorite moments and some other things. But we wanted to make sure that I was able to answer some questions before disappearing. Rosa Stella says, do you travel while you're off the grid? Enjoy your peace of mind. God bless y'all. We are going to do some traveling. I'm not going to announce exactly where or who we'll be with or anything like that. But there will be some portion of travel. There will be some portion of being here and just kind of being home with the kids. And as I said, a couple house projects. There will be no, we don't do television really for the kids. A little bit of dinosaurs, a little bit of trucks. But I'm going to even tell them, guys, we can't do it this month. I just don't want anything electronic in my face. We can't really go out also because, you go out to restaurants, there's TVs. If someone comes up, if something big happens and someone comes up to me and spills the beans, I don't want to know that. So it's a very controlled month where either we'll be just sort of very desolate in the middle of nowhere on the beach or just really just hunkered down at home. But as I said, I think this is actually perfect for the next question. Oak says, you can either grill or smoke meat in August. What meat and method would you choose every time? I love the smoker now. I think I have become a premier Big Green Egg smoker. Big Green Egg people, if you want a sponsor, that I can sell that thing so freaking easily. I love that thing. I can tell you that when I have all the team over and I'll either make like a big brisket, usually I do a bunch of big tomahawks. Sometimes I'll do a tomahawk and maybe a full filet mignon, like a nice full piece, not just chopped up. We'll do all sorts of things, but I really think I've become a master griller. I love the slow cooking. I love fiddling with the Big Green Egg. You gotta work the top and the bottom. Wait, Big Green Egg we're talking about, right? You get it, people. So yes, smoking would be my favorite way of doing it, but old-fashioned grilling is good too. Like obviously I don't really smoke burgers and hot dogs and that kind of thing. So just for traditional barbecuing, which we do plenty of for just wings and chicken and burgers and all that, we do the regular grill on that one. But yes, we eat a ton outside. It's just a lot of flame and smoke around here and a lot of sweat and mosquitoes because this time of year there's a lot of mosquitoes and it's Florida, you're just sweating all the time. Harrison says, what are some of your favorite activities to do in the daytime and nighttime while you're off the grid? Grilling, eating, reading, swimming, gardening, etc. So we'll be doing a lot of gardening this year. I want to do a whole refresh of our garden. Things are seasonal here, and obviously this time of year where it's so hot, certain things are just not growing properly. The tomatoes have all kind of died down. We're doing really well with like mints and herbs and that sort of stuff. We have a ton of citrus now, but I'll be working out in the yard a lot, hopefully in as much shade as possible. I probably, the last like 2 years, I don't think I read a book the last 2 years off the grid. Like I was just like, I just want nothing, because I usually read political books. So I was like, I want nothing to do with any of that. I think I'll pick up a book or two this year, probably. If you have any recommendations, get them in Locals real quick, and the team can get it to me before the stroke of midnight tonight. And then it's like, we'll be doing, just as I said, a ton of cooking. Like, I love to cook. David loves to cook. We'll have friends over as long as people are in agreement that they are not going to talk about current events and that sort of thing. So we'll do some of that. We're going to hit the gym as much as possible, work out, eat right, sauna, steam room, cold plunge situation. Like, we're just going to, it's really just 1/12 of the year, 1 month of the year to just kind of line up properly so that I can roll back into September and feel as strong sort of mentally, physically, and spiritually as I possibly can. Okay, these are the Rubin Report season, are we calling this season 7? Where did we come up with season 7? This is the 7th off the grid. Okay, got it. The Rubin Report started in 2013, as I said before, but in terms of off the grid. So technically, I guess this is season 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So technically, we're wrapping up the 11th season of the Rubin Report. Hot diggity dog. All right, but for the DM of the year, this is the show that I did right after coming back from that Jordan Peterson ARC conference in November of 23. Take a look.
You might ask why I would be concerned with bringing the history of the Bible to a more popular audience. We inevitably and must see the world through the lens of a story. A story is a description of the implicit structure through which we view the world and prioritize our perceptions and determine how to act. Now, because you can act in a very large variety of ways, that plethora of possibility has to be limited and focused. It has to come to a point. It has to have a destination. It has to have a moral. It has to have an ethic. And what a story is a description of an ethic of attentional and action prioritization. Peace is dependent upon us being brought together under the rubric of a single centralizing narrative, much of which is reflected in the meta-narrative that the biblical library constitutes. So I hope you enjoy this tour through the history of the world's most significant book.
All right, Internet, I have returned. I'm still Dave Rubin. This still is the Rubin Report. It's November 3rd, 2023. Where has this year gone? Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan's show, and they were talking about George Soros. And
one often hears of the sort of George Soros boogeyman, but I mean, Soros actually, he is, I believe, the top contributor to the Democratic Party.
I want to talk about behavior specifically and how when we reward all of the wrong things that society starts collapsing. So take a look.
We've forgotten the meaning and the adventure and the purpose and the significance and the earned self-regard that goes along with that sacrificial attitude. And we've forgotten to tell our children the same thing. And we could remember who we are. We could remember who we are. And that's what this conference was for.
There is a reason that if you set the table properly and then you invite people over and they dress a certain way and you all sort of believe in whatever your shared values are, let's say the values of goodness and community and decency, and you share a meal and you talk about things, that you start seeding the ground, as Ian asked us to do. You start seeding the ground for a better society. So we're almost at the end of the show today. So I now want to go back to just an image. Remember that family that we showed you? It does not matter, as I said earlier, within the context of how I'm describing it, it does not matter whether they're here illegally or not. It matters in a meta sense, but for the purposes of stealing the candy, it doesn't remember it. So let's show you a picture of that family again. We don't have to show you the full thing. So here they are, and that's what they're doing to society. But there's a better way.
No more candy. Oh no. Aw, that was really nice, Jackson. You're so nice. We're next kids. There we go. Danielle's like, no, I won't.
Man, I forgot. That was a damn good show. The point, guys, is that as Jordan is talking about building that bridge, that's what the entire speech was about there, where that brought him to tears. That was the closer of the ARC conference before the O2 event that I mentioned earlier. As you build that bridge that is Jacob's ladder by putting your life in order, thus you can put the world in order, it starts kind of with you. And that kid there already somehow knew that lesson. So isn't that pretty beautiful? My DM favorite moment with a co-host was the spectacular Megyn Kelly.
He's probably going to jail and is going to stay in jail for a long time.
What do you think DeSantis' takeaway from all this should be?
You can't beat a walking ball of charisma with slow and steady wins the race. I didn't sign up for this. Make me laugh, bitch. MAGA's going to get over Nikki Haley if I tell them to get over Nikki Haley. They play dirty. Why are the Republicans so bad at dirty pool? Stop whining. If you're not going to actively work in between elections to change the laws, then exploit them.
Megyn, mid-January 2025, who will be president of the United States?
I'm going to have to say...
Yes, well, I think she said Donald Trump. And the reason I wanted to show you that clip was she was right about the DeSantis thing, right? Again, I have no regrets. I've said this a million times. I have no regrets about supporting DeSantis. I am thrilled that he's still down here in Florida, and I pray that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. But I like showing that like I saw things a little bit differently than Megyn. She clearly saw that more clearly than I did, at least as far as how the Republicans, the base was going to vote and all of that. And it's fairly clear that he's supposed to, I would say, in a celestial way at this point, he's supposed to be the man of the hour. So anyway, that was my favorite co-host moment. My favorite sit-down of the year. This was very easy to figure out. This was with Sage Steele, and again, I walked into the studio. She was in here already. She turns around. Our eyes met, and it was as if I have known her my entire life.
I hate the way that as a company, ESPN chose to go. Don't we want everybody to watch our network? Don't you want everybody to buy your products? Why are we you're not going to make money. It's not a good business model. What did Michael Jordan say in the 80s? Republicans buy sneakers too. It's very simple. And I've been saying this. I mean, I feel like there's just way too much money to be made to leave racism alone. So many Americans are choosing to push these narratives and choosing to divide us further. We've been silent for too long and accepted it, and no more. I feel like God put me here to speak out, and I'm emotional for that reason, because I can't believe that it's me, and I'm grateful. Pray that others will not wait as long as I did, including first and foremost my kids. They don't wait till they're in their late 40s, 50 to be like, no, that's not okay, and here's why.
Yeah, and you can clearly see why I think she's just absolutely spectacular. My reaction short of the year, is it me reacting to something Donald Trump said, maybe something Joe Biden said, some other deep political moment? No, it's a South Park clip from 15 years ago that got 20 million views. Enjoy.
We are really trying to understand this. How is it that you boys think referring to gay people as in today's world is acceptable?
Because we're not referring to gay people. You can be gay and not be a fag. Yeah, a lot of aren't gay.
I happen to be gay, boys. Do you think I'm a fag?
Do you ride a big loud Harley and go up and down the streets ruining everyone's nice time?
No.
Then you're not a fag.
So what if a guy is gay and rides a Harley?
Then he's a gay I mean, is this really this hard? I don't know. All right, look, you're driving in your car, okay? And you're waiting to make a left at a traffic signal. The light turns yellow, should be your turn to go, but the traffic coming at you just keeps coming. And even when the light turns red, a guy in a BMW runs the red light so you can't make your left turn. What goes through your mind? Right! But you're not thinking, oh, he's a homosexual. You're thinking, oh, he's an inconsiderate douchebag like a Harley rider.
This is making insanely good sense to me.
20 million views, people. You see what the internet what it really wants at the end of the day. My favorite roundtable of the year were two good friends, Aaron Wexler and Michael J. Knowles of the Daily Wire. Jihadi Janes and Hamas holes. That's solid stuff, Aaron. That's solid stuff.
Thank you, Dave. I just realized, I thought I hadn't seen any of your videos, Aaron. I was watching that one yesterday, I think. Really? New York, where ovaries go to die, is one of the funniest lines I've heard in years. And Thank accurate. you.
Aaron, in case people didn't fully get it, you live in the free state of Florida. You went to New York, but like,
yes, sir.
Joking aside, it's pretty freaking terrible at this point, right?
Yeah, it's a dystopian place at this point. It is really weird to go back, and it makes me pretty sad. I do like to joke about it, and the video is meant to poke fun at mostly the libtards. Also myself, I like to make fun of conservatives. You know, it's kind of laughing at both sides there, more so one side. But I do live in the free state of Florida now. I do go back to New York. I have family there. I have friends there. It is a necessary evil of my year, and I made it out alive. And I'm actually currently in the great state of Tennessee, near Michael Knowles, but not too close. And so we're basically neighbors.
I want to be too close to that Michael Knowles. My podcast hit of the year, you know, I mentioned that I got some of my predictions as it pertained to Ron DeSantis wrong, but I think I got some of these predictions right when I was on the Patrick Bet-David show about 6 months ago.
What do you think about the dynamics of her and Ben at Daily Wire?
Well, I hope you heard the overriding part, which is that I don't want to make it personal with her. I don't really consider us friends anymore. I think there's many layers to this. There's a pure business layer to it, which is that Candace has a contract with Daily Wire. But it seems fairly obvious to me she wants to leave the Daily Wire. And I think Candace, to her own, whether she wants to join Tucker or do something else after, start the Candace Owens network, whatever it might be. I think there are realities outside of just like the political fights. And that's why in this case, it actually, for me, it has more to do with that we were friends for a while. I'm trying to honor and respect that. We were quite good friends, not, you know. And I think she sees an opportunity here and she's going for it.
Why? I kind of nailed that one. I'm also wearing the same outfit. Hot damn. My TV show appearance of the year. I think you know which one that one was.
Members of the White House staff protested against their own president. We are congressional staffers on Capitol Hill also. Also these people did. And we are no longer comfortable staying silent. Well, you're staffers. You're supposed to say silent. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you fire them.
My boss is doing a shit job, and I thought I'd go public with it. I mean, this is hundreds of people in Biden's staff and on congressional Democrat staff who are publicly going against them because they're not supporting Hamas enough.
You fire them, period. You fire all of them. That's it. It's not up for debate. If you had 5 staffers standing outside saying Bill Maher's the devil, what are you going to do? You're going to fire them, right? Of course you're going to fire them. It's as simple as that. You fire these people, but the inmates are running the asylum.
Remember that, guys, if any of you turn on me. You're all at-will employees and will be treated as such. My debate of the year was just about a month ago. I still have a headache from this one.
You condemn the shooter shooting Donald Trump?
No. Not here, not on this program, not in front of these people. Absolutely
You do not condemn a deranged shooter shooting Donald Trump.
You are truly just a child. This is not.
Actually, it's not. No, you know what, Charlie?
We're just trying to be decent human beings.
You know what, Charlie? It's not actually the behaviour of a child. It's the behaviour of somebody who's completely lost his moral compass.
I mean, it's actually one of the most disgusting things that I've ever heard in my life. When I happened to be at Target, the store Target we were checking out when I saw it on Twitter, and my heart actually sank. And I know that is the feeling of probably 200 plus, if not 300 plus million Americans, even many of whom would vote against Trump and do not like Trump and all of those other things. The idea that you can't show sympathy or empathy for that is so profoundly sad.
I mean, that right there, what you saw there, is exactly why I go off the grid, because I don't want the internet to break my brain. And clearly it has broken some brains over the last 20 years or so. My most random crossover of the year took place in a former CNN news anchor's apartment in New York City.
The vaccine was not a vaccine. The vaccine did not work. Fauci is on right now.
It works. It worked. It worked. It's why the hospitalizations came down.
I mean,
it's why the healthcare system.
I know everyone says that, but I don't think there's really any evidence of that. They were forcing everybody to do that.
That is going to be something that needs to be reviewed and scrutinized, and I believe ultimately found to have been wrong.
There was no evidence. There was no evidence that when you went to a restaurant, if you were sitting, you could take your mask off, and COVID could only get the waiter who was standing and had to wear the mask.
But here's not.
And masks don't work at all.
They do work. They don't work. They're not perfect. There's a lot of research that's all over the place. Do masks work? Of course they do. Why do they wear them in hospitals?
All right. I think I largely turned out to win that strange little crossover there. Oddly, we haven't heard much of Cuomo since then. He was a perfectly nice guy off camera, and we said we'd drink tequila together one day. I think he's a little confused about the ideas, but it was nice sitting down with the guy. Our skit of the year, you may remember this one when I tried out for the Dallas Mavericks because, you know, Mark Cuban, he's a big fan of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Next into the tank is a modern version of a traditional machine.
Hey Sharks, I'm Dave Rubin and I'm here to try out for the Dallas Mavericks. What are your pronouns? My pronouns are she, they. How long have you played for? I've been playing for about 35 years, but more importantly, my husband's gay. What college did you play at? I played at Howard University, a historically black college. Oh, cool. Who's your favorite African American? Elon Musk. And what's your three-point percentage? 30% as a she, 42% as a they. So what's your vertical? High enough to jump Donald Trump's wall. Okay, and what would you say your signature move is? Funding lower-class abortions from out of state. Hey, what's your favorite warm-up music? The national anthem, while kneeling. All right, I like what I've seen so far. You really love the game, but who is your favorite player growing up? Number 32, Karl Malone.
Sticking all kind of hell up their butt.
Congratulations, man. You're the newest member of the Dallas Mavericks.
I think my dream could have come true. I would have been an NBA player. Would have been great. Our post of the year. So this is our post on social media that got the most clicks, the most views, clocking in at almost just under 100 million views, 96 million views. And I think it's only a 4-second video. Enjoy. Think about the hours of work, the effort, the paper that's printed, the pens we use, all of the things that we're doing to bring you some informative stuff, to make you laugh, to enjoy yourself, to understand the world in a new way. And a 4-second video of a paraplegic jump. But it's all part of the game, people. That, I should note, that came out of the brain of Brock over here. So you are credited accordingly or not accordingly. I'm not so sure. My tweet of the year. I don't know that this was up there on my most retweeted tweets, but I think this, in terms of kind of framing things for a sane world, kind of got it right. This is a couple months ago. I tweeted this out. January 2025. Imagine this. Donald Trump is president. Tulsi Gabbard is vice president. Byron Donalds is Speaker of the House. Josh Hawley, Senate Majority Leader. Vivek Ramaswamy is press secretary. David Sachs is chief of staff. RFK Jr. is director of CIA. Tom Cotton's director of the FBI. Ron DeSantis is attorney general. Marco Rubio is secretary of state. Chris Rufo is secretary of education. Ted Cruz, Secretary of Homeland Security. Mike Pompeo as Secretary of Defense. Dr. Peter McCullough is Director of the NIH. Dr. Drew Pinsky is Director of the FDA. Bjorn Lomborg is Secretary of Energy. Peter Thiel, Secretary of Science and Technology. The Rock is U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. Peter Schiff is Chair of Economic Advisors. Rand Paul is Chair of the Federal Reserve. Joe Biden is in Shady Pines retirement home. Well, hey, I got that one right. And although I missed on the VP pick with Tulsi instead of JD. And I really think a list like that is what could get us out of so many of the problems of today, at least at a political level. So we shall see. Pray if you pray. My guest of the year appeared on the Rubin Report 3 times. Here's a little mix of what Ben Shapiro was doing this season.
I think the only thing you can do is show the images. So it's one of the reasons why I've been showing actual pictures and footage of the atrocities, because what that says to people is these people are not like you, and they're not. What would it take for you to go into a random civilian's home and burn their baby in their crib? And the answer is literally nothing on earth would make you do that because you're a Westerner. But that is not the case, obviously, with Hamas terrorists.
All right, B. Diddy. Can I call you B. Diddy? Does that even make sense in the rap world? B. Shapiro? Do you have a rap name?
It's Dr. Dreidel. But, will this be my career going forward? I have doubts. I don't know. I feel myself already drawn to the lifestyle. I spent the weekend clubbing.
Yeah.
As we Orthodox Jews do.
Can you at least talk to just sort of where it's at now?
She's free to do whatever she wants to do. To be wherever she wants to be. When it comes to the hosts on the Daily Wire, obviously, everyone is able to say what they want. Nobody ever comes to me and says, you can't say X. Nobody ever says that to Walsh. And no one ever said that to Candace. But the reality is that there is an Overton window at the Daily Wire. Obviously, there was a non-meeting of the minds. That's pretty much all I can say on this. Daily Wire has a very strong editorial position on a wide variety of issues. And by the way, I should say that, there are a lot of people who are suggesting this is about disagreements over Israel. I mean, I can safely say it is not about disagreements over Israel, to the extent that, without reference to Candace at all here, Matt Walsh has taken the position that America ought not be involved in the Middle East at all. That's just a pure isolationist position. I disagree with it. I think it's wrong. I think that it's short-sighted. But again, he's on our platform. That is well within the range of acceptable discourse at the Daily Wire.
My dinner of the year, this was really one of my most joyous nights of the year. You know, when we went back to LA, I always say it takes a lot to get me back there. And I don't miss anything about LA except one thing, that I did have a great crew of friends there. We can throw the picture up. And this was just a great night. I hosted a dinner with some of the all-stars that are still there, who are all trying one way or another, I think, to move to Florida. But obviously that's Dr. Drew right there, and there's Sage Steele, and my man Larry Elder, and Dennis Prager, and there's Dennis's wife Sue, and Adam Carolla, and David Sachs, and Michael Shermer. And you know, this group of people right there, they're all over the map politically. They're all over the map philosophically and religiously, and every other way. And we all just absolutely had a blast. And the funny part, referencing something earlier, so you can see Carolla is sitting next to David Sachs. David Sachs, co-host of the All In podcast, original COO of PayPal from the PayPal Mafia with Elon and Peter Thiel. He's a billionaire, and Carolla, for some reason, turned to him and said that he wanted to share, would you share a potato with me? And they shared a potato. I paid for the whole meal. He did not have to share the potato, but they shared a potato. We've got my top 5 political moments coming up on the other side, but a couple other questions from the locals community. Dylan says, is it going to be hard for you to go off the grid this year? I can't imagine, especially since your entire days are consumed with politics, stepping out right now. But that's exactly why I have to do it. Yes, it feels more difficult this year than any other year. There's always craziness, right? It's always crazy. There's always something going on. We're always going to miss things, right? Like we missed actually one year, what was it, 2000, what year is it, maybe 19? We missed the Very Fine People on Both Sides thing. We missed the Charlottesville thing. There was that same year that everyone thought that North Korea was going to nuke the United States. Remember that? That was a while ago too. These things just happen and move by. We missed John McCain passed away one year. We missed the Afghanistan withdrawal a couple of years ago. So crazy things will happen. And yes, it does feel crazier than ever. I'm going to miss Kamala Harris picking her VP, right? Like, will Joe Biden survive this whole month? Who the hell knows? And then there's just like a zillion other things that can happen. So it does feel crazier than ever. But I just have to do it. Like the whole point of doing it years ago was like, oh, the world's crazy. Like I'm going to dip out for these moments so I can get those fresh eyes that I talked about earlier. So just because the world's crazier is not a reason not to do it, right? Like if anything, that's more of a reason to do it. And hopefully I will come back and maybe by some miracle, the world has course corrected a little bit. I highly doubt it, but at least I'll have course corrected in my own little world. And maybe that will help the course correction when I get back in September. Terry says, what are some top movies you love to watch while you're off the grid? You know, I don't cut off television or any like visual anything altogether. So movies are okay, or TV shows, but we don't do much of that. I was thinking maybe that this August I'm going to rewatch the entire Sopranos. I think I'm going to do it. David's also been pushing me on Ozark, which he's seen. I know you guys wanted me to see Ozark too. I've never seen it. But movies like I'll try. There's nothing that's kind of just sitting in my head that I really want to watch. But again, we don't really watch much. We're outside. We're really outside as much as possible. Tappy Chef says, do you have a favorite book to read and reread? What do you read to the boys? Oh man, we have so many books, and I'm so happy that they love books. I read the books in kind of a funny way because, you know, I find that like, you know, the children's books can be a little repetitive. It's the same kind of rhyming and every little thing. So I basically kind of editorialize the books and I make up a lot of voices and do a lot of silly things. They're really, really into dinosaurs right now. So we name all the dinosaurs. They're really into trucks. You know, I'm thinking, does anyone know of a book? If someone can find me a book that they will combine dinosaurs and trucks into some sort of magical thing, that would be really good for us over here. What else? My favorite book to read for them, though, I think we have it right back there. Is it right there? Can someone grab that for me? Who wants to be in a video? Come on, Adi, let's go. Let's see. My favorite book, we have an extra copy. I don't know how it ended up in here, but this is an extra copy of it. It's Good Night Girls. It's a story about what all the Golden Girls do at night. And Sophia's trying to put them to bed. And you can see they're eating cheesecake and they're doing some exercise and they're dressing up. There's Dorothy, there's Dorothy as Cher, and they're playing the piano and they're sculpting and a whole bunch more. They're exercising over there. And then at the end, after a bath, Sophia gets to eat some cheesecake alone. I know this book like the back of my hand. All right, guys, my top 5 political moments of the year, and good God, there were no shortage of them this year. The first one, of course, on May 31st, 2024, we got the Donald Trump conviction, which is still, I guess, somewhat in limbo or something like that. We will see. A lot of the cases have been thrown out. It's all just nonsense. We all know that none of this would be happening if he wasn't running for president. My God, they also shot him. Well, we'll get to that one in just a second. Really, probably the political moment of the year, the purely political moment outside of the assassination attempt, was the Trump-Biden debate and really the end of Joe Biden.
A situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President
Trump, we're going to turn. Let's not act like children.
Good God, like in retrospect now, like it was all so insane. It was always insane. And they lied to everybody about that. They're lying about Kamala now. They lie and lie and lie and lie and lie. Oh, and also they tried to assassinate Trump.
Take a look at what happened.
God, what an incredibly iconic moment. And again, the speed at which these things just kind of get erased from our memory or pushed aside or anything else, that was literally less than a month ago. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. This one is a little more niche, but I think it's a seriously important political moment of the year because it goes to the heart of what's happening, this great sorting that we're seeing in this country now. This was from the leading report breaking. Elon Musk announces SpaceX and X will move headquarters from California to Texas after California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill to ban schools from making rules requiring parental notification if a child identifies as transgender. And the reason I put that in my top 5 political moments is because it gets to everything, right? It gets to the woke craziness of the left that we've seen all of these years and the gender stuff and all that. It gets to an overreaching government like we've seen in California for so long. It gets to the fact that people are able to move and pick up your livelihood and your business and bring your family to greener pastures. In this case, Elon going to Texas. So it's the great sorting that was one of the amazing little trap doors that our founders put into the founding documents, the Federalist Papers, really, that would allow us so that if things weren't going well where you lived, you didn't have to leave the country. You could just move to another state. And I think that that's good. Probably the biggest news of the year was this. This will come as no surprise.
You elect me to this office. I promise to always level with you, to tell you the truth. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now.
The whole thing was a farce, and he never said really why he was stepping down or anything else, and they've just put him in the back mirror, and they've anointed her and everything else. And again, I don't know what's going to happen at the DNC, although in just a second, I'm going to give you some of my August news predictions and a couple special announcements as well. But real quick, a couple more questions from the locals community. Miss Mama Panda says, will you discover more of Florida while you're off the grid, or will you and your family only head to exotic lands for adventure and sightseeing? It's a little bit of both. We're going to bounce around. I think we're going to get to the Gulf side of Florida a little bit, which I don't have time to get to often, but I really do love the Gulf side. It's a little bit slower than Miami where we are, and we'll do some of the exotic stuff and some beach stuff and all that. As I said, it's going to be outdoors. It's going to be a lot of red meat. It's going to be a lot of sweating here in Florida. And then we'll just kind of see, partly what I also try to do, because my day to day, if I was to show you my calendar, Adi can testify to this. Like, if I show you my calendar, my day, virtually every day, even on my weekends, is just almost every minute from basically 7:30 to 7 is just accounted for. So just to open up, or not, I won't even be looking at my calendar, but just to wake up in the morning and know, oh, there's nothing I have to do today, and then just seeing what happens, that's a big part of this whole thing. Tam says, are you looking forward to spending more time with the kids in August with little work obligations now that they're a bit older? I am. I love being with them so much. Like, yes, it's freaking exhausting, and they want to be outside all the time, and it's hot, so it's tiring, and they have endless energy. When you're 2 years old, your engine is just running and running and running and running and running. They never want to stop. But especially in the last couple months where I can throw them around more, they like to wrestle, and with building forts out of the pillows and the couches and like tossing them over things. And we got this dome that they can climb and all that stuff. Like I love doing all of that stuff with them. We're gonna go. There's a dinosaur exhibit that we've taken them to a couple of times. We're gonna go back to that thing. Yeah, we're just gonna find some good stuff to do and go to the park, and we'll play with Clyde and all that. Jose says, what's your favorite part about being off the grid? I mean, that's like the big one, I suppose. It's just somehow that I can do it. I know that everyone probably should do it. Like, I really do. It's that I've afforded myself an ability through, I guess, hard work and building a good business and working with good people and fighting for the things that I fight for that then, resonated with other people, that I've been able to do something that feels extraordinary, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe you do it. You don't have a phone, you don't have a computer, all that stuff. Like, how can you do it? How can you not look at the newspaper and all that stuff? And it's like, you can do it. You can do it. And 25 years ago, none of us were walking around with phones. And, 80 years ago, television didn't exist or whatever it is. And before that, radio didn't exist. And there was a time before the printing press that the newspaper didn't exist, and humans existed. And you got news somehow, or you didn't really care about the news, or you just spent time with your family or your little community. And I think restoring a little bit of that, again, I don't think this thing is the devil. I don't think it's evil. I think it's a tool that can be used for good or bad. But we all just have to figure out what our relationship is. Just our relationship with it is. Just look at our show from yesterday. I mean, the algorithms are tricking us. They are changing things. Then the Trump assassination is disappearing. And if you Google Donald Trump, you're finding out more about Kamala Harris. So you just have to know all of that stuff and figure out what your relationship with all of that will be. All right, I'm going to make a couple of predictions before I officially sign off. First, I guess we should hit some of the stuff around the Democrats and Biden, Kamala, and the DNC picks. Look, well, Biden's out. My gut feeling is that Joe Biden will not be president for the remainder of his term. He is breaking down at such a rapid level at this point. I get it. They can basically hide him now. Nobody cares about him. All the focus is on Kamala. But in the few times he's come out, even in the last week, it just seems worse and worse. It does sound like he had some real medical emergency in Vegas a couple weeks ago that really was the catalyst for everything that's happened subsequently. I don't think he can make it all the way. All that being said, they can pull all of the trickery if they need to hide him, if they need to only put out audio or whatever else. But he's really not functioning as president, and people really should understand that. As for Kamala, I mean, they've handed it to her, right? Like, nobody's voted for her. She was a disaster in her own primary. She is as far left Marxist as you possibly can get, and they're going to keep trying to paint her as a moderate, and they're going to keep bringing white men out for Kamala and all the rest of it. So she has all of the support of the machine. So this election is basically, it's you versus the machine. It's the individual versus the machine, and we will see who still has more power. And as for the VP thing, like, my gut feeling, this is what most people are saying, but my gut feeling is Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, maybe Mark Kelly from Arizona, but Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania and Arizona are important to get. But Pennsylvania, not only is it important to get, but Shapiro comes off as like radically moderate for whatever a moderate Democrat is at this point. He's pretty well spoken. He kind of looks right. Like, I feel like it's going to be him, but it's going to be an interesting convention over there. It's in Chicago. You've got the Hamas faction. You've got whatever the few sane Democrats left are, like the anointment of Kamala without doing it. There's just so many competing interests there, and all the intersectional groups that actually hate each other and are just pretending to like each other. Like, it's going to be a circus. As for Republicans and Donald Trump, I think Trump and that guy right there, JD, like, they just have to stay the course right now. Don't do anything crazy. Don't feel like you have to respond to all the crazy accusations and everything else. I think even just in my own life, everyone I know at this point, and I knew a lot of Biden people before or Democrats before, no one's into it anymore. Yes, I get that there's always somebody, but like, if Trump can just control all the craziness, and people will see what's happening to the world. They will see what's happening to the economy. They know what's happening at the border and everything else. So a little bit of control, I think, will go a long way. And then, at least for August, and then as you roll into September, of course, things are going to get crazy in the months right before the election. But if Trump comes off as calm and cool and collected, and hey, I'm going to right the ship, I think that'll go a long way. Will there be a tragic disaster domestically or globally? I mean, probably. Oh, I see we have images of that's the Hawaii disaster right there. Do we have any other disasters that we're going to show me right now? Yeah, I did miss the Hawaii disaster last year, actually. It feels like, I don't want to put anything into ether. It feels like some sort of terrorist attack is coming one way or another. You know, also, right at the moment as we're taping this, like, you know, the Israel-Hezbollah situation is getting worse. Why wouldn't China look at Taiwan right now and be like, this is our chance, because Biden is basically not functional? Like, there's a lot of stuff, you know, what could happen with Ukraine and Russia and everything else. You just don't know. That's the funny thing about making predictions. You know, I like to think that when I've done this show, I've been directionally right about most of the realities of the world, which way the world's going, what's going on with the radical left, like what's important for America to stand for. I've been right about most of that. I think the trend of what people are waking up to in America is the stuff that I've been talking about for years. But predictions of tragedies or who's going to win or whatever, like, it never works out for anybody. They want me to comment on a celebrity story. Will there be a death or a political announcement or something? Why are you showing me a picture of Morgan Freeman? Do you think something is going to... You want me to make a prediction about Morgan Freeman? Yeah, I think he'll be okay. Was that when you were just trying to find an old guy that might die? I hope Morgan Freeman's okay. I don't want Morgan Freeman to die. You know what I mean? Shawshank, you know? Will Morgan Freeman have a new movie coming out, maybe? Or I don't even know how to respond to that. But some celebrity is going to do something stupid, I think, is the point, right? That actually is the point of all of that. All right, and finally, something positive before I get to a couple special announcements. Something positive. Look, in the last couple of days on the show, we really hit hard on how dishonest the media is, how they can reframe everything right in front of your eyes, how people can know things, they can deny it, they can lie about it, and that's what they're doing right now with Kamala. They're hiding her record, they're pretending people are into her, but more and more people are waking up. So something positive is that if this DNC thing just becomes a big cluster F of competing interests, which really is what the Democrats are, then it will be the crazy energy around that versus, again, what was a really beautiful wide tent thing for the Republicans. Not to make everything about politics, because there are other things. But like that video that we showed you at the end of the show yesterday, Vivek talking about how America can be restored. It's like, that's the message. That's the message. And I think the positive thing that's happening right now is we are in a place that I think was basically inevitable. The internet was going to lead us to the moment we are at right now. There was a giant machine of mainstream media that gave us a certain amount of information in a certain way. Then the internet came in and it poured just a huge amount of gas on that and kind of lit it up. And now we've had a fire burning for a long time, but it will not burn forever. So I think if we can just keep waking everybody up, and if we can make sure that we have secure elections, which is a big one, that I do think things could turn around. And imagine. People always think it's like, well, how do you get to the other side? What would the other side of it? We've now been in this weird thing, COVID, everything for so long. Nobody can sort of picture what a right America or a right world would look like. But I really think that if Trump wins in a landslide, I'm talking a Reagan 84 over Mondale 49 state landslide, it might reset the whole damn thing. There might be enough people that would finally say, no, you know what, you woke dingbats and you gender queer weirdos and you furries and neo-racists and everybody else, you can live, you can still exist, but we are just not listening to anymore. It would cause a cultural shift. That's what we need. We need a cultural shift. And I think, unfortunately, we can only do our cultural shift through politics. It'll either come through a massive political revolution or it comes through some sort of horrific tragedy. Those are the only two ways it can happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't just like slowly happen nicely. That's just not the way things work anymore. So that would be my hope, that we get some seeds of that over August. And a couple announcements that I can't really tease too much, but I've been talking about the tequila for a long time. We were really, really hoping that it would be out on September 3rd for sale, but I don't think that'll happen. But I think I can say that we will have a landing page that you will be able to pre-order the tequila. The name, the bottle is beautiful. Every bottle is one of a kind. I'm so psyched. It's such the flavor. I'm telling you, it is the best tequila you have ever had. I'm so proud of what we've made here. It's just importing and everything. It just takes a while. I think we can probably have it being shipped by October, but the landing page and orders should be up on September 3rd. We will have some really spectacular rebranded graphics for the show and music. We've been working on this for like 6-7 months. I am so psyched. It is just a way level up of everything that we've been doing. And then how do I tease this next one in the most esoteric way? Let's just say we have some other expansion plans starting in next season. That's kind of where we're at with everything. I can say no more. On that note, guys, these are the last sentences that I'll be saying to you before I disappear for August. So once again, I just want to thank all of you for watching, particularly those of you who support us on Locals. I want to thank everybody in this room right now, and you guys really, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I think that's like basically the best thing that can happen to someone in life outside of marrying the right person and having kids. And I somehow lucked out on that one too. So I am humbled and honored and thrilled. And now I'm going to beat some of these young kids in basketball over here, and then I'm disappearing. So thank you for watching, guys. And I will see you in September.